The losing of the Aral Sea in Central Asia is an environmental calamity. Toxicity. Chemical substances in the vulnerable seabed include inflicted common public health problems. Can an aspiring draft to factory millions of trees rescue the Karakalpakstan human beings of Uzbekistan? 78-year-old Almas Tolvashev shuffles via the grit to the rusty skeleton of a fishery ship. The beacon how keeps look above a crumbled fleet of 10 or so sea vessels is a absolute remind how Moynic was one day a prosperous fishery seaport on the Aral Ocean. This story of the Karakalpakstan human beings starts in the ocean, says the ex-fisher. Fishery was the at first item fathers learned their sons. Moynic put at the cardiac of Karakalpakstan, a semi-autonomous republic during Uzbekistan. In its blossoming, the is wherever 98% of Uzbekistan's minnow came of. I was the at first Muslim skipper in Moynic and my vessel was the Volga. Captains were normally ethnical Russians, Almas says majestically. Down there were 250 sea vessels there. I utilized to capture 600 to 700 kilos of minnow each date. Now down there is no ocean. The Aral Sea begun to decrease in the 1960s while the Soviet power diverted water supply of the two major rivers how flowed in the Aral Sea to nourish extensive new clap fields. As clap manufacture boomed, the Kremlin rejected to recognize the issue. Original inhabitants had to put marked sticks in the land to show the coastline was vanishing. As the amount of water supply diminished, the focus of season with salt enlarged, poison all in the ocean. Minnow stocks went downward and in the end all we trapped were corpse minnow. Now youthful human beings include to keep for some countries in searching of jobs. The Aral Sea has shrunk to 10% of its X amount, and region of water supply as big as Ireland has been lose. But he's not fair a way of lifetime how has been struck. The skipper wave propagation his hands over his chief, he's not love up, the weather is poor, down there's all the powder in the airborne. While Dr. Yuldashbay Dosimov at first came to job at Moynic's clinic in the 1980s the coastline was already 20 km, 12 miles, off. He remembers the illnesses how were particular to the area, breath problems, phthisis and renal problems were common. Before Newly, lot family dead of diarrhea. The Soviets authorities who advanced Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan's clap production did not anticipate how herbicides and pesticides of their new greenery would run off in the rivers about them and end up in the Aral Ocean. Polluted potable water supply inflicted lot problems and these were reinforced while the water supply retreated. As the sea dry up, toxicity chemical substances of the clap production were leftward vulnerable on the sea cot. These were transferred via the ambience by sandstorms and respirable by human beings through a extensive region. For many decades, these illnesses were an outdoor open secret. The authorities just recognized the extinction of the Aral Sea following the drop of the Soviets Association. While they identified the issue, they begun job on a decision. And he's a decision how Dr. Dosimov hopes will drastically enhance the welfare of the Karakalpakstan human beings. They include to reduce the effect of the dry up sea on human beings' public health and house why they are landing sal trees. Several miles of Moynic 2 automotive engineering are inching through the skyline party by party. They are clawing length channel in the salt sea bed how 40 year ago would include bin 25M, 80FOOT, submarine. On the behind of every truck, a youthful man grabs a fistful of oil seed and feeds it in the slim ditch. No question if it rain fall or shines, we include 2 weeks to factory AHA, 2.4 acres, says one of the men. He's been common cold and wet recently, but we win tea keep before we achieve our purpose. The men are crop sal oilseed. The sal is a shrubs like wood home to the deserts of Central Asia, and now the at first link of defense versus environment changing in Uzbekistan. A completely grown up sal wood can fix up to 10 tons of ground about its cradle, explains Orazbay Alanazarov, a afforestation expert. The trees halt the breeze collecting up polluted grit of the dry up seabed and propagating them via the ambience. The schedule is to lid the whole X bed in a wood. They're nearly 1 in 2 trees has kept. The is nice. He doesn't conceal his emotion as he strokes the branches of one white's grey shrub's house stands 2 and apart meters top. He's a length period draft, the row of saxals was put 5 year back. We chose saxal trees since they can pull through in the dry and salt ground, he says. The trees are put in rows, 10 separately, so how while they ripe and produce oil seed of their own, the gaps among the rows will be inhabited too much. Before now about part a millionth hectares of the abandon include been coated in saxal trees. But down there are yet more than rather than 3 millionth hectares to be coated. At the present step, it could get 150 year to increase a wood there. We are sluggish, admits Alanazarav. We requirement to rate up the trial. But for the we requirement more than cash, more than overseas invest. Love the experienced fishery skipper Almis Tolvashev, or Razbay Alanazarav knows the Aral Sea may never go behind. But at low now down there is several expect how the Karakul Paxton human beings' quality assurance of lifetime can be superior, a life expectancy following a judgment was done to select clap above minnow. Photo by Gender Yvonne Harris. Edit by Crane Evans.